Hello, this is Nancy, the donkey lady, and this is a video for parents and also teachers to explain some of the reasoning and rationale and research behind the strategies that I am teaching young people through the way of the donkey. First, I'm going to start with some fun facts about donkeys. Donkeys evolved in northern Africa. They evolved in places that were rocky and dry, and this is a really important concept that you'll see as we go on. Donkeys can survive on very dry grass and can go without water for a very long time. Donkeys are a kind of an equine. There are three kinds of equines: horses, which also includes ponies, zebras, and donkeys. Donkeys can breed with other equines. A horse bred by a donkey will have a mule, and mules are very valuable service animals that bring kind of the best attributes of both donkeys and horses. A donkey bred by a zebra will have a zonkey, and there was actually a zonkey for sale at the Eugene Livestock Auction within this last year. Equines are one-toed ungulates. Ungulate means a hoof, which is really pretty much like a fingernail. Equines have a hoof that is one toe. Cows, goats, and deers are two-toed ungulates. So because the hoof is like a fingernail, it grows, and they have to have their toenails or fingernails trimmed by a farrier. There are three sizes of donkeys: miniature donkeys, standard, and mammoth. A female donkey is called a jenny. A male donkey that can breed is called a jack, and a gelded male donkey is called a john. I use miniature donkeys in my program with children. Donkeys were first domesticated in Egypt. This was more than 5,000 years ago, and they were used to carry people and carry things for people. What this allowed was people to take things to sell in other places. Donkeys were so highly valued that they were actually buried ceremoniously with an Egyptian pharaoh in a pyramid. Just as there is within every religion or spiritual tradition the golden rule, what's amazing is that donkeys are present in so many of these religions and in every situation. The message that they're selling is that donkeys provide humble service. So the Greek god Hephaestus always rode a donkey, not in a chariot, which is how the other gods rode. Balaam's donkey in the Torah was protecting Balaam. Mary probably rode a donkey into Bethlehem because she was 9 months pregnant, and that was a long walk, and that's what they did, but it actually isn't in the Bible. Jesus rode a donkey into Jerusalem, and the scripture specifically says that this is because donkeys come in service as compared to horses, which are used for conquer. There is a Hindu goddess who is a healer. There is a Chinese immortal who provided service to the poor. There's a Buddhist goddess who appears in flames on a donkey, who is a protector. And Muhammad rode a winged donkey from Mecca to Jerusalem to receive spiritual guidance. The underlying core message is donkeys in service. It also appears that donkeys played a major role in the expansion of global trade, focusing on the Silk Road. There is evidence of the DNA evidence that donkeys that came from Africa were present in China in 200 BCE. And further, the level of donkey DNA significantly increased as the Silk Road expanded. Christopher Columbus brought donkeys to the Americas on his second ship. Unfortunately, when he came to support Conquer, the King of Spain sent President Washington a mammoth donkey to breed mules to support agriculture. Donkeys were used by prospectors in their quest for gold in the Old West. When the gold rush ended, these donkeys were released to the wild, and the wild burros in the Southwest are descended from these donkeys. Burro is the Spanish word for donkey, or burro, and the way of the donkey has a former wild burro. His name is Dante. As these photographs show, donkeys were working long ago and in every part of the world. These are current pictures. In many parts of the world, donkeys are still the primary service animal, especially in regions that are more impoverished. There are working donkeys in every continent in the world, in the Middle East, China, Africa, Central America, South America, Europe, Australia, India. Antarctica is the only continent where there isn't a donkey. Clearly, interacting with donkeys makes people happy. They have not, however, been significantly used in therapy activities in the United States. There actually seems to be this special connection between kids and donkeys. And I have noticed this with my donkeys. The younger the child, the more gentle and careful my donkeys become. They are really truly sensitive and very in tune to young people. Donkeys are used in a donkey therapy approach in the United Kingdom. Amber's donkey is a story about this. Amber was born prematurely. She had a tracheostomy for the first number of years. She started working with a therapy donkey at the donkey sanctuary. And finally, they removed the tracheostomy. She was 3, 4 years old. She had never spoken. Her first words were, "I love you, Sparky." There's also a great article in the New York Times, What Donkeys Know About Autism. This young man has autism, and his father is a wild burro racer in Colorado. And he found that when his child was having any kinds of challenges, sending him out to go and interact with their donkeys was a really, really effective approach. And donkey babies are just as incredibly cool as could be. These are the way of the donkey's current donkeys: Junebug, who's 9 years old and is a Jenny; Opie, who's 19 and is a John. And those are my two primary empowerment donkeys. Otis is Opie's good buddy, and he's around 11. And he was a rescue, so he has a real hard time around young people. And Dante is my BLM burro. He's still sort of wild. What I'm teaching young people is the way of the donkey. So there's a bit of a story about how I came to this strategy of the way of the donkey. In 2007, it's 2006, I wrote a book that was published in 2007, Cyberbullying and Cyber Threats. And I realized as I was writing that book that what educators are told about bullying behavior, as well as those who engage in bullying, is wrong. And also, the way that they've been told to address bullying simply isn't going to be effective. The reality check is that we have to understand that adults simply aren't in control of how young people are treating each other at all times and in all places. And further, that bullying is a form of trauma. So, what we have to do is actually empower young people with the skills and the motivation to independently maintain positive relationships. Now, I have written about that and I am rewriting my book, Engage Students to Embrace Civility. But please understand that my research for over a decade is on how to empower young people to independently handle their lives. So, what I learned about donkeys and the difference between donkeys and horses is this: horses evolved on the plains. If they get scared, they run, they go into flight. But donkeys evolved in rocky terrain. They can't go into flight. They have to keep their wits about them. So they're also not going into freeze. They might have to fight, okay? But they have what they do is they stop. They stay calm, they stand tall, and they think things through. Now, I have seen this donkeys in my pasture, and dogs come in the field that is next to it that they don't know. Every single donkey is standing still, staying calm, standing tall because they're a prey animal and they have to be tall, and watching intently to figure out whether or not those dogs are going to be able to get into the pasture, because at that point in time they're going to have to maybe deal with the danger. So stay calm, stand tall, think things through. This is a real core focus of the way of the donkey. In addition, donkeys can be very stubborn. They might not do what you want them to do. So, to get the donkey to do what you want it to do, you might have to try a few things, but you also have to stay calm, stand tall, and you have to be powerful. You have to be a kind leader. Donkeys have many traits that I have discovered within the social science research that I've been doing can help people feel happier, become empowered, and respond effectively when things get tough. Connect with friends. Donkeys have really solid connections with adults, obviously their mother first, but then the herd takes care of the young ones, and they have special friends. They are bonded to other donkeys, even within a larger herd. Reach out to be kind. Donkeys scratch each other's backs. This is called social grooming, and when they do this, this helps build bonds between the animals within the herd. Build your strengths. Donkeys are very smart and they like to learn new things, so we focus on how to improve and learn new things. Be thankful. Donkeys are very thankful, especially if you bring carrots, which I don't let children feed them carrots because I don't want them to learn, because they do learn that a child's hand coming to them might have food, because that would guide their behavior, and we have to be careful what we teach donkeys. But they also really love hugs. As I've already talked about, if things get tough, this is what donkeys do. Stay calm. They stop and stay calm. They stand tall. Donkeys are prey animals, so they stand tall to appear more powerful. So, think things through. This is Opie. I took him to church and he saw his reflection in the window. He thought it was another donkey, so he wanted to meet that other donkey. Look at him, and I point out to kids, look at him. He is staying calm. He is standing very tall. This is the alert pose. I need to be paying attention pose. And he's trying to figure out how to get to the other donkey. The first strategy he tried was to get through the glass. That didn't work. Many times, The first strategy you try to solve a problem isn't going to work. And actually, the research is that your brains develop better when you fail, because then you have to think things through and figure out another way. And he actually tried to then go to the left and turn around and walk through the door. That also failed because I was holding his lead rope. But this is stop and stay calm, stand tall, think things through. If things are getting tough, if you don't know what's happening, be like a donkey. My activities are all fully research based. So, this is the science of happiness, empowerment, and self regulation. The Harvard Center on the Developing Child has focused strongly on resilience, and they have indicated that the research has identified a common set of factors that help children have positive outcomes even in the face of adversity. Number one is supportive adult child relationships. Also, a sense of self efficacy and perceived control, that they are able to do things that are hard. Opportunities to strengthen their skills and self regulation, and sources of faith, hope, and cultural traditions. I have actually utilized this research to write two books, one for teens and one for younger kids. Be Positively Powerful, a guide for teens on achieving resilience and empowerment, and Resilient When Things Get Tough for kids. If you notice, my little circle of the 7 strategies, they are the same strategies as the way of the donkey. I will teach your children the key parts of the brain that they need to know to become happier, empowered, and respond effectively when things get tough. The first is the hippocampus. The hippocampus stores memories, and those memories can be sad or happy. But if you put more happy memories into your hippocampus, you can become happier. The amygdala reacts in response to threats, real threats or perceived threats. The anterior cingulate, which I can never pronounce in a consistent manner, so it's the AC cortex, regulates our emotions, and the frontal cortex allows us to think things through, to problem solve. Notice that the AC cortex and the frontal cortex are in the areas of the human brain that are more evolved, more recently evolved. We are all going to be facing threatening situations from time to time, so we have to know how to respond. So, the healthy threat response, the amygdala is going to sense the danger and will trigger your body to respond through an increase in cortisol, adrenaline, blood flow, respiration, pulse, and heart rate. The the hippocampus, processes information about this current threat or perceived threat based on what has happened in the past. The AC cortex regulates the emotional response, and the frontal cortex figures out how to solve the problem and respond. This is if things work correctly and if everything stays together. So, what is not a helpful threat response? This is when you might flip your lid, and I do use the hand for the kids, is when the AC cortex and frontal cortex become disconnected from the amygdala and the hippocampus. And when this happens, it's not possible to regulate emotions or to solve problems. So let's go back to the equine example. If you flip your lid, you're acting like a horse. You're going into fight or flight. Or if you don't flip your lid, you can stay calm, stand tall, and think things through. So, what we want kids and teens to do is respond like a donkey would. It's also helpful for young people to understand the connections that are in the brain. The working part of our brains are the neurons, and these neurons form synapses to establish neural pathways that communicate. And this is how your brain tells your body what to do. What people generally experience as they grow up guides how their neural pathways have been established. If they've had generally positive experiences, they will mostly have positive neural pathways. But if they've had a lot of negative experiences, they will have more negative neural pathways. Our brains developed with a very natural tendency to focus on potential danger and risk. That's because as the brains were evolving, there were actual potential dangers and risks, like saber-toothed tigers. So our brains look for the bad news and store memories of bad events in our hippocampus. This is helpful because it allows us to more effectively and rapidly respond to the next similar risky or dangerous situation. But if we've had a lot of those negative experiences, a new experience can trigger a response based on memories of the past. If someone has stored a lot of past bad memories, and has had these negative neural pathways established, this can influence their reaction to a new situation. So when bad or concerning things do happen, they may become more highly distressed and may overreact. This is why the returned veterans who have PTSD may overreact to a loud noise. Their brains, their hippocampus, has stored loud noise means danger, react, get yourself out of here. This is the same thing that happens when a child is walking down the hallway and a student who has bullied them comes over and just raises their eyebrows and gives a threatening look. They know that there's the potential for risk and they may overreact. If someone has experienced a lot of bad things or are experiencing bad things now, these are the common reactions: fight, engage in aggression or become disruptive; flight, run away, refuse to talk, avoid people; freeze, become disconnected, stop trying; fawn, try to avoid conflict by always seeking to please others. We know, however, from the science of neuroplasticity that the neurons in the brain can rewire themselves. And by focusing on happy memories, we can have those more happy memories added into the hippocampus. This allows anyone who's experienced challenges to become more resilient, happy, and empowered. This is the basis for what is called post-traumatic growth. When one successfully handles difficult challenges, this results in significant positive growth. Someone who has had the adversities and has accomplished and achieved and reached a good stability will have an increased sense of their personal strength. They can form closer relationships with people. New opportunities and possibilities can come to them, and they will most likely become more interested in providing service to others. So I'm not absolutely entirely sure on the legitimacy of this research, but there is research on this. Apparently, to rewire the neurons to achieve greater happiness and not flip our lids requires a consistent focus on positive. And it is said that it takes 5 positives to undo 1 negative. So, the ways of the donkey: connect with friends, maintain positive connections with good friends and trusted adults. Having supportive friends is really important for young people. To have good friends, they need to understand that they must be a good friend. Helping children make new friends can really be strengthened by encouraging them to engage in the activities that they enjoy. And then, in the context of those activities with other young people, they may meet others who enjoy the same activities, and from there, friendships can grow. The biggest barrier for young people in making friends is the fear of failure. So, encouraging them just to enjoy the activities that they're involved with and possibly make some new friends is a way to take that fear away. We also have to help young people understand that sometimes friendships are going to end, and it's important to walk away without causing further harm. Trusted adults can provide support at times of challenge and also for positive time. A trusted adult is someone who they can talk with about anything. They feel comfortable and safe sharing a serious concern and will help them to think things through to decide what to do and not dictate their solution. Obviously, parents or caregivers are our first line of trusted adults. As young people grow, they also need to have relationships with trusted adults who are outside of the family, safe, trusted adults. Reach out to be kind. Reach out to be kind to others, knowing that this makes them and you feel happier. So, thinking from the perspective of what's in this for me, reaching out to be kind to others results in a significant increase in happiness of the person who's being kind. There is a link between happiness and good social relationships, and it's a bi-directional link. Happy people are kind to others, which makes others happy, and those who are kind to others become better accepted by those others. There's actually a research study that shows that if kids are instructed to reach out to be kind to others and they follow through with that kindness on a daily basis, their level of peer acceptance will increase. Build my strengths. Use one's strengths every day and when things get tough. Focus on growth and building new strengths. Building strengths is grounded in two areas of research. One is the growth mindset research. We need to encourage young people to have a growth mindset. And this is associated with what I've talked about with neuroplasticity. Help them understand that our brains can change. We can adapt, we can learn, and we can recover. We have to realize that failure means they tried. And uh, we actually learn more from failure than succeeding the first time we try something. Realize that both they and others can improve and change. Help them to embrace challenges, learn from criticism and mistakes, and believe that they can do hard things. And recognize that life is a journey, not a race. And yes, I am audio taping this outside, and my ducks decided to come by. My donkeys haven't brayed yet. I also really like the work of the VIA Institute on Character. These are researchers from throughout the world identified the 24 character strengths that underlie positive society throughout the world. We all have different strengths. And research has documented that by intentionally using our strengths and building new strengths, this can lead to greater happiness. Now, I have not yet figured out how to translate this really effectively at the elementary school level, but there are surveys for teens and adults on that you can use to identify your character strengths, and they are on the VIA character website. Focus on the good. Focus on the good things happening in life, be thankful, and express gratitude. I really like Rick Hanson's book, Hardwiring Happiness. And we know from research that by intentionally focusing on the good, one can achieve greater feelings of happiness. That helps with the neuroplasticity of creating greater happiness connections. So, his strategy to focus on the good is to notice the good. Notice that a good thing has happened or do something good for yourself. Enrich the good. Take time to feel really happy and then absorb it, thinking of the good experience being absorbed into your mind and warming your heart, and appreciating the good. Sending a note of thanks to someone who has made you feel good. So, happiness thinking. Every day, if you can engage your child or your students in thinking about the responses to these four statements. Today, I had a positive connection with, I reached out to be kind to, I am proud that and what made me happy was. Now, with kids who are coming to my Way of the Donkey after noon camp, what I will be sending home is a piece of paper where they can record on a daily basis the responses to these four questions. I will I will also provide this and can also provide this to any educators. Stay calm. Take time each day to achieve calmness and focus. If things get tough, remind myself to stay calm. Research has documented significant benefits of a consistent practice of meditation. And these benefits include improved attention, concentration, improved emotional regulation, greater compassion for others and for self, and reduced stress, anxiety, and emotional reactivity. So it's sometimes hard, I think, with young people to actually focus on the meditation. And I really think we need to do this. So as a way of starting, what I recommend is happy mindfulness. Encourage them to take a seat, close their eyes or look down, engage in slowly breathing, breathing in, letting it out, and then go through the happiness thinking. I had a positive connection with, I was kind to, I am proud that what made me happy was. And I think this kind of a guided meditation can achieve both greater happiness and greater mindfulness. We also need to understand the stages of dysregulation. A young person can be calm, then they experience a trigger. If they are not able to regulate at that point in time, their anxiety and stress builds until they achieve an outburst, and then we have recovery time. So the goal is to flatten the curve and help them be able to flatten the curve by being able to regulate when they experience a trigger. So, to help young people learn self regulation skills, it's necessary to work with them on how they can stay calm. At a time when they are calm, help them identify those specific things that seem to trigger them, and then collaboratively think things through about what steps they can take to remain calm if they are triggered. And then, after any triggering situation, discuss what happened and enjoy successes or discuss ways that they can improve. And it's especially important for adults to avoid tacos. Tacos are when adults increase distress, which increases the potential for an outburst by threatening, arguing, challenging, ordering, or shaming. Some of the strategies that young people have helped me come up with include how not to flip their lid, do happiness thinking, walk away to a place where they can be alone, talk with a trusted adult or a good friend, go walk in nature and look at the plants, get something to eat. That's helpful if you're hangry. Meditate, use a fidget toy, draw or doodle, read a happy book, play a fun game, listen to calm music, or watch a happy video. These are strategies young people have suggested to me help them. Stand tall. Hold yourself tall and strong. Do not allow what happens to control how you think about yourself or respond. There are also two research theories behind the stand tall guidance. The way in which people hold themselves communicates their own sense of personal power. That's why I always tell children, if you're going to lead a donkey, you have to stand tall. That communicates to the donkey that you have power and they need to follow what you are saying that they need to do. So the research of Amy Cuddy, you can watch a TED Talk, Body Language May Shape Who You Are. It reveals that you can actually, by standing tall, that can help you result in feelings of increased self-confidence. So the power position is the way to fake it so that you can make it. I also share with kids the images that are from the Let It Go video from Frozen, because at the beginning, Elsa is feeling small and then she stands tall. The other research theory behind stand tall is control my thinking. The rational emotive therapy or theory is that we never have the ability to control what might happen to us, but we do have the ability to control how this makes us feel about ourselves and how we respond. So this is the A plus B equals C. A is the adversity that you can't control. B is your belief that you can control. And C is the consequence. So I teach kids to say, I'm not going to give you the power to control what I think about myself or how I respond. Think things through. In any challenging situation, think things through to decide what to do. So now remember the picture of Opie outside of the church. What had happened? He saw his reflection and he thought it was another donkey. What was his goal? His goal was to meet up with the donkey. Now, what positive actions could I take? I suggest to children that they should think of several actions. Donkeys are probably not able to do that. But he tried to get through the glass and then he tried to walk around. But what we want kids to do is think through, not just, I'm going to do this, but come up with some action ideas and then think through to predict the consequences of what might happen if they took that action. And then there, based on their analysis of the possible consequences, choose the best action and then realize that if that didn't work, they need to think things through again and figure out what they learned from what didn't work and pick a better action or another action to try. And this may be repetitive. So, a very important lesson that I am teaching young people is that if things get tough and I stay calm, stand tall, and think things through, then I won't flip my lid. Thank you for learning about donkey empowerment.